All right, hello.
Hey!
This is something entirely different that we talked about doing right at the end of the last 7 Stones. We had this kind of bizarre idea that maybe we like talking about things we like and other people like listening to people talk about things that they like as well. And so we put the poll out to sort of see if some enthusiastic young hobbits would be up for talking about things they like. And thankfully we had a bunch of people, not a lot of people I suppose, sort of say yes, we'll be up for that. So what we're going to do, we have 2 themed panels, which are less themed than they were this morning, because Adam Troke messaged me about 12 o'clock and said, can I do a talk? So we've put him in the second panel, and then I've jerry-rigged something from an old lecture to talk about in this one as well. So we've now got 6 talks about various different parts of the hobby for you to hopefully enjoy. The way we're going to do it, following the standard sort of conference model, which is we're all going to talk for about 15 minutes or so, something like that. Dan will talk, then I think me or James, doesn't really matter which way around it is. And then afterwards there'll be a little Q&A where you can ask questions to any of us, and then we'll move on to the next week. All right? Sound insane? Just crazy enough to work? But with that, we're going to hand over to our first speaker, Mr. Daniel Entwistle.
Know me as Damian said, my name's Dan. I've been playing Middle-earth since about 2007, so about 12 years, and I quite like mimics. So yeah, mimics, as I say, I quite like them a lot. I currently own 6. I've got 5 normal mimics and the mimic war leader. Why? I don't know, just kind of do. So why do I like mimics? Mimics are, in the Return of the King, I still remember the first time I watched it, Theoden had just rode into the Pelennor, everything was going great, and then all of a sudden these huge war beasts turn up out of nowhere, and everybody looks like it's game over, the day's done, evil has suddenly won with the arrival of these titanic beasts, and that for me was a really cool feeling. I really loved how that model could have the same effect on a person when you come across them come across the table from somebody, it's the first time they've played against one, they're like, wow, my army's not going to do anything against this. So the next question I guess a lot of you have is, are they competitive? This picture will prove that they are quite competitive. Everyone knows Mr. Long, very competitive guy. And there's the 2 of us at 7 Stones 3 years ago with 2 mimics. So are they competitive? Yes. But not really, no, not much. The War Leader has added a new element of counterplay that's allowed them to be a bit more useful. I found in the previous edition you kind of needed ring race as sort of crutches to help them move around and get going, but you kind of don't have those anymore now. The ring race took quite a big hit. So mimics I've not quite worked out where they fit in the world of the SBG meta at the moment, so we'll see how it goes. As I say, they're really good at some of the missions, Lords of Battle, to the death. They're really suck at the rest of them though. Domination is quite a tough one, recon can be really, really tough, and well, heirlooms that's a non-starter, let's not even bother with that one. So why do I use mimics versus actually useful armies that win games? They're fun for a start. You put one down on the table, you immediately have your opponent going, that's a problem. Because if they do get to move and do what they should do, then you can run over an army in not a huge amount of time. So it often gives people pause for thought, and as I say, they're just cool, they're fun to use. So why do some of you take your pet armies over something that would be more competitive or more effective versions of the army? So I'm going to target a fellow panel member, Mr. Braund. Is notorious in the community for his double dragon antics. Why do you take dragons over something that might be a bit more useful or a bit more powerful in some tournaments? What is it about dragons that you enjoy?
Because of the well-known and well-publicised fact, thanks to the PR efforts of the Cult of the Double Dragon, that dragons are love, life, and our Lord and Saviour. I mean, what other reason do you need?
Well, I mean, what more can you add to that, really? Steve, you have a pet model that you've been using quite a lot recently. It's a fairly recent discovery, but you also took it to your first tournament, I believe. It's the Balrog?
Yes.
So what was it about the Balrog that sort of drew your attention and made you want to bring it to a tournament?
Initially, just quite a cool character in the film. Basically turns up, doesn't have much screen time, but you immediately get a load of badass characters going, oh shit, let's get away from this big thing.
Yeah, so it's a similar feeling to the Mumikil, you know, this huge character that's arrived, and all of the heroes are suddenly looking a lot more worried than they were a couple of minutes before, and things are really looking like they're taking a turn for the worse, and the evil side might be victorious for the day. So it's those kind of thoughts and feelings from either the movies or games that we've experienced against other people that have kind of given us these feelings. So have you got anybody else out there that's got like a pet army that they've sort of identified, or any guilty pleasure models that they'll always try and squeeze into a force? Max?
Yeah, so the Hazard Guard and Durin,
Yeah?
they were like, I remember when they first came out, I was like, those are cool. But I was 11 years old and they were made of metal, so I was never going to get them.
Yeah.
And then for this event, I just went and swept them all off the shelves because I'm a grown man and I can do that now.
Yeah. So it was a childhood thing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And you were like,
Yeah.
I love these, they're really cool, and
Yeah.
now you've been able to go back to them, and the nostalgia is something that made you want to get them.
Yeah.
That's cool. Anyone else got any sort of... Mr. O'Byrne, have you got any pet models or models you really enjoy using?
I enjoy using Tario.
Yeah? Yeah, what is it about Tariel that makes you enjoy bringing her out into games?
It's just pretty.
Oh.
I think more and more it's because it annoys other people.
Well, I mean, we all get small pleasures out of taking things in games. But anybody else? Any pet armies? Yeah?
I tend to run Gondor a lot just because I just like the aesthetic, I like the look of them on the table.
Yeah.
Like the row of silver and black. And obviously now that they've got the shield wall bonus, Warriors of Ministry has become very effective. And now that Ingol's come out as well, I've used him almost every time I feel the Gondor. He's fantastic on the table.
So for you, it was more of the way the army looked on the table, and then as you played it more, it was like, okay, the army feels great as well as looking really cool as well.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. So it kind of started out, initially I wanted them because they look good, and then the more you use them, you kind of learn their strengths and weaknesses. And then with the new rules as well, you can kind of, with Gondor, you can kind of go for an elite force with like loads of knights, as they'll go up Fenwick and Guard, or you can go more back to basics like Defenders of Osgiliath, with like Rangers, Veterans, that sort of thing. So it's kind of, and then if you're looking at like the allies, like the Fiefdoms as well, which is technically Gondor, so you've got the versatility. You can build an army of Gondor in many different ways, and they all work.
And as you say, despite weaknesses, we end up going back to these pet armies and favourite armies because we've enjoyed playing them, or we've enjoyed putting the army together and painting them. I mean, for me, I'd never even considered collecting a Mirkwood army before I started the army for this tournament, and now I'm really excited to get my Mirkwood Rangers on the table and give them a spin because I've enjoyed painting them so much. So
what's interesting just there, because I'm with you in terms of the aesthetics of Gondor, a lot of people said it's because they liked it from the movie. It's the movie that, not so much what works in terms of the figures or anything, it's the movie shot that...
Yeah, I suppose for a lot of people, it was the same for me with the Mummies. It was that movie moment of first seeing these huge beasts on screen and seeing them come into the field, and Steve with the Balrog as well. It's these moments that were brought to life by the movies that have really allowed us to imagine those moments on the table as well and really enjoy using these models to the extreme. So, any other armies or models that have been inspired by the movies? Yeah?
Pairing Azog and Bold together.
Azog and Bold together?
For people.
Yeah?
It's got particularly master of battle. They are outfighting most big heroes.
Yeah.
Scaring them to crap out of them. They don't really know how to approach them quite often. And with the Zogs, like 3+ wounded heroes.
Yeah.
And Bold's like, which got strength 5, burly, just cuts through everything like butter.
Yeah.
Ideally, doesn't always happen. As we showed earlier against George.
So there seems to be a big consistency in people with these big villains and big heroes that have allowed you to. It's not necessarily the good guys that have brought these feelings forwards. It's the big bad villain of that particular moment in the movie. So Harry, you were going to
I was just going to say it's the Sauron moment in the start of Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
Just awesome way to start the films, and I've loved playing with Sauron recently as well because finally managed to build and paint them, and it's just great fun.
Yeah.
Because you just every time you sweep around with the mace thing and kill everyone, just reminds you of that moment, which is awesome.
Yeah. So, are there any of you who have recently sort of found a new pet model or anything that you want to indulge in upcoming tournaments? To say for me, it's the Mirkwood Rangers that I've just got finished for this tournament. I'm really looking forward to using them. So.
Sorry, because he likes killing Azog in bulk.
Too soon.
With the Galadriel going back out with Made to Order, I've kind of gone to start collecting a Helm's Deep Force.
That's cool. Yeah.
So I've kind of got one of my favourite models one of my favourite poses is the Helm's Deep Armoured Aragorn.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm trying to build like a Deeping Wall Force, Hornburg Force. So
that's awesome.
Hopefully, maybe one day, we'll get Defenders of Helm's Deep Legendary Legion. So
never know. Anything else?
Channels.
Camels?
Lots and lots.
Yeah. I know our Middle-earth writer Jay Clare's a big fan of the old Mahad Raiders, so you're in good company with those. Anybody else? Anyone else thinking of anything new?
I'm going to go up to 800 points for my dwarves, because
Yeah.
the models are sweet.
Yeah.
2 ballistas.
2.
Oh.
Is that the Iron Hills ballistas?
Yeah. Now.
Spiders.
So,
All the spiders.
Yeah. You painted those up for this tournament, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going up for Ardacon as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you've got adding some more to that for
Max
for
now.
another tournament.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I think the thing for me is using these armies is I get a buzz out of listening to other people laugh at the idea of me rolling up tournaments with Mummoks, and there's one picture in particular that a number of you in the community very much enjoyed on the Black Friday sales when the Mummok Warherd was released. Nick Baton very much enjoyed taking this glorious photo of me looking absolutely ecstatic at the idea of having 3 more bastard Mummoks to put together. So yeah, I'm going to kind of leave you with this sort of final thought of don't be afraid to run your pet armies out just because your friends or your gaming groups tell you it's not competitive or it might not work at the tournament. Just run with it. The more you play with an army, the more you begin to understand how it works and how it functions. The number of people who will tell you the Mummoks aren't competitive and can't be on top table. I've come second at a tournament and I was using 3 of them at 1,000 points. So, you know, there's things that you can do and there's things you can learn and you can begin to play around the weaknesses of different armies, especially if you, as I say, you use it a lot. So yeah, don't be afraid to run out things just because other people don't want to. So yeah, that's pretty much concludes my segment. So thank you very much.
Hello everyone. Hello class. I feel incredibly formal, and particularly after Damian's last presentation, I feel like I'm kind of the supply teacher coming in to follow the guy who actually knows what he's doing. But this is going to be great. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So I think most of you know me, but if you don't, my name's James. I like dragons, as Dan alluded to earlier in his presentation, and naturally, as a result, this presentation is of course sponsored by the Cult of the Double Dragon, which happened not be one of the 7 stones, the home of the Cult of the Double Dragon. So Damian at some point decided he wanted some time filling, and then decided he didn't want that time filling because he wanted to spend half an hour talking about the trailer of a rubbish film. Fine. But at some point I think he did actually want me to talk about, you know, something that made sense, and I figured I'm quite good at losing, so it probably makes sense to talk about that for a bit.
I'm his partner as well.
Yes, I've also lost my partner. Joan Giblin is dead to me, dead to the world. Very sad, so, when you have somebody talk to you about a topic, you want to know their credentials, you want to know they're well qualified, so I thought I'd talk for a few of mine. I'm a 0-time GBHL champion, 0-time ETC champion, 0-time Ardacon champion, and most importantly of all for this weekend, I think, 0 times. Just in case it wasn't clear, there's a chart. I promised down a chart. There's a chart. So the thing is about all this is I'm not a complete loser. I'm not always on bottom tables, although sometimes I am when I take dragons. And I've done okay events in the past. I've won tournaments like a few years ago, quite a few years now. So this definitely isn't a presentation completely about losing. It's more about the fact that losing is okay. Now, a really important thing to stress here is I'm not preaching from a place of innocence here, because I've been an absolute... Am I allowed to swear in this?
I think people already have now.
Oh, well, fine. I've been an absolute wanker in some games, and I'm fully aware of that fact. Mostly to Damian, because he enjoys it. This is more me kind of preaching quite idealistically and saying, look, this is, I think, how we should all be when we're at the table. So why am I here telling us how to lose? Part of what I want to stress with this, and I think it's really interesting that I'm talking about this at 7 stones, where I don't really think winning matters quite as much, I like to think.
We think if you win it, you've done it wrong.
Yes, absolutely. But at a lot of tournaments that we have, particularly in the GBHL, people can get quite bent out of shape about wins and losses and get very hyper competitive about things. And I kind of wanted to talk about the fact that losing is okay. And learning to lose is a good thing, which Sean Bean Boromir could probably have done with realising instead of trying to take a small metal ring off essentially a small child in snow. It's quite a sore loser thing to do. So step one of James's guide to how to lose. Don't be afraid of being principled. I'll elaborate on this a little bit. As you see, I've found some of the internet's finest quality to pepper my slide with. This is kind of me. Yeah, it took me a while to read it on the video. It does get to the end, it's good. Damian clearly the slow reader.
I take the left first, I go for the words on the picture.
I see. At the end of the day, you don't have to win at all costs to try and win again. Being principled and having your own red lines that you won't cross in order to get that win, that's fine, that's really admirable, it's a good thing. And when I was thinking about this, I thought about it in 3 ways. So first of all, arminess. You might have had it yourself where you've been across the table from some absolute wanker playing with the lights. Awkward. And gone, you know what, this is really not fun. I know they're having a good time, but bloody hell I'm not. Equally, you might have played against an army that is absolutely hilarious. You've had a fantastic game playing against a Watcher in the Water, just because it's amusing as hell to watch it pop up and move like 4 inches and then kind of grab something and go, yoink, mine. That's hilarious, and that might be a reason why you decide you want to take a particular kind of army. Not because it's the best, not because it's hyper competitive, but almost in spite of those things, because you enjoy playing with or against that army. That's a great thing, in my opinion. Theme I've separated as a slightly different one, because theme's really interesting, particularly in the new age that we find ourselves of SBG. If I'd have been given this talk a year ago, this would have been a much easier one to point out and go, oh yes, theme is lovely because theme means you're not being a beard, but actually theme nowadays, you might be being a bit of a beard, and that's okay, that's fine. I think theme having prominence in really strong armies in the game is the right thing to do to encourage people to play in the spirit of the background which we love. But there are some notable exceptions to this. I remember Damian was talking earlier about the internet getting bent out of shape over things. I think of another great example. So I remember before Gondor at War came out, and the world was up in arms about the army of the dead not being able to be Green Alliance with 3 hunters. And that the internet seemed to be absolutely raging at this. And of course, I'm sure the people who make the game were sat there very cleverly going, oh, they can't wait to see what's coming. Oh, I really wish I could tell them. But at the time, it didn't really matter. Right? If that's what mattered to you, if theme was the thing that was really important to you when playing the game, then solve it, it's Amber Alliance or whatever it is without Gondor or Age of Religions. Just go play a game and do what's enjoyable to you. Another great example of this, I know there's people who dislike the fact that you can't field an army of Rivendell with Glorfindel in alongside the Warriors of Arnor, because those particular lists are actually set at different times, so you can't do a particular thing from the books. It doesn't matter. Just go play with it and have fun, because that's the theme, that's what matters to you. At the end of the day, having a bit of fun with this is really important. And that kind of feeds into my last one, the attitude at the table. How you play the game. Are you going to be at the table and be that person who goes, I think you'll find that you can't move that guy because you didn't call with me when you called your right move. Are you going to be that person? I've been that person, and people have hated me for it, and I've not enjoyed the outcome of that game because they thought I was a dick, and I was. Step 2 then. Losing equals learning. Say it with me, class. Losing equals learning. There we go. I told you I'd get some audience participation in there, despite what Dan and Damian tried. I'd get the audience participation as well, yeah. So, this is corny as all hell, because I've not only ever worked in the standard, always look at the bright side of life picture, I've always got every loss is a chance to learn. Ooh. I like no mark for originality here. But it really is true. And I think one of the best things that you can master as somebody who wants to go to a tournament, who wants to do well, is accept that losing is okay, because whenever you lose, there's always something to learn. If you win, it's really hard to kind of sit there and go, you know what, I played perfectly. I got 12-0 wins. Therefore, what could I possibly learn? Whereas if you're spanked 12-0, it's a little bit of a different story. There's another interesting thing here. I'll get on to my second point about the idea of being self-critical in a constructive way. Now, I won't go into too much with this one because mental health is a really tricky subject, and I know that some people will get very down on themselves and get very negative and can get into a self-spiral. And it can be a really dangerous thing for some people. And I can't talk about any of that stuff. I'm not the right person to talk about. What I can say is that really when you're being thoughtful and reflective about your games, be constructive. There's no point in kind of going, oh, you're such an idiot, I should have done this, why didn't I do this? And there's no point to it, as hard as it can be to break out to that side. Keeping your self-criticism constructive and focused on what you can do is really important, and it's what lets you learn. You can also, and I've done this with people in the past, you just, like I said to my opponent, you know what, you just kicked my ass. Tell me what I could have done better. Tell me what you would have done if you were in my position. I think that's a really valuable thing to have in your back pocket when you're on the resounding end of a difficult loss. And the final point here, I wish a good friend of mine, Ed Ball, was here to watch his expression as I said, don't blame dice, because there's definitely times I've heard him blame dice after games, and I always say, look, Ed, don't blame dice. So I say to whoever it is, try not to blame the dice, because a good player will always take advantage of their own good luck or their opponent's poor luck. And if you can learn to deal with that, and you can just move past the fact that, yeah, sometimes you go, rubbish dice, move on. It's not the end of the world. And that leads quite nicely to my point. It's okay to lose. At the end of the day, we're playing a game of toy soldiers. We're all here, we're all giving up our bank holiday weekends, come down to the far south to come and play against each other, having a great time with a bunch of toy soldiers. And really what matters is that we're going to enjoy ourselves. We'll have a great time, and this tournament again is an exception to the rule in a way because there's not such a focus on winning. I think this is a great thing to think about. Even after a loss, if you've been a difficult tournament, if you're playing the final game of the tournament, you were going to win, but you lost. It's just toy soldiers at the end of the day. Just getting past that is really helpful. Knowing why you're playing is also, I think, really helpful. I've probably sounded quite disparaging throughout this whole thing about the idea of playing really hard to win or anything like that. I don't mean it like that. I love playing to win. I love being competitive. And I love winning games. But I think there's something to be said about how you do it, which is really what I'm trying to get at. So if you are playing competitively, appreciate that's why you're playing. And if you lose, you want to think about how you're going to get better. If you're just playing to have a bit of a laugh, rock up with your mates and play with two dragons and watch as one of them throws Killy into the other dragon and watches a fails a courage test and flees the board, just enjoy the moment. Just laugh at it. Laugh at the bad luck. Laugh at what happens. That's
Ori, you know it.
Oh, it's whatever. I don't remember the name anymore. And really, one of the greatest things I can say is, and I said at the start, I know quite a few of the people here in this room, and I know some of the guys who are off watching the rugby and things this weekend. There's loads of people I'm going to see this weekend too. I count as friends, and that I happily sit down for a beer with at the club afterwards. And I wouldn't have that if it weren't for this game. So at the end of the day, if you go cheesy's all out, and I get the standard like that some people think, oh, they're nice friends. If you leave the table with a new friend at the end of it, that's really what winning is. I did say I was going to talk about dragons at some point. Damian, when he was putting it up to this, he was like, oh, come on, say something about dragons. Fine, I guess I better work it somehow. Unfortunately, Dan's basically already stolen. Mr. Troy, what time do you call this?
I call it, well, just shy of 5:30.
Oh, thank goodness, I've been run out of time. The final bit, when you are quite finished, the final bit I wanted to touch on is actually something that Dan already spoke about very eloquently earlier. It's this idea that take something that you enjoy. Take an army that's stupid or ridiculous that you can put together and just have fun with it. Because you know what? You will learn so much from it. Like going out there and learning like how exactly the rules for mummox work, to again call back to that, and knowing those inside out. but then knowing how they interact with other game pieces, it will improve your all-round game. You'll learn its limitations, you'll get better, and just overall you will be a better player for it. And in the process you'll have some of the most memorable games of your life. I promise you that. It's a fantastic thing to do. Nodding Gandalf gift doesn't play well on the projector apparently, but at the end of the day I think it comes down to these three things. Remember, principles are okay. It's okay to have red lines and think about things you're not prepared to do in order to win. Make sure you learn from your losses, because you'll become a better player for it. At the end of the day, don't worry about it. It's toy soldiers. That's all I got.
No, you've got some questions, mate. So, thank you, can we give it for James and Dan? Thanks so much to the guys for giving up their time and putting together these awesome presentations. Really, really appreciate it. I was wondering, we do have a bit of time, if any of you have any questions for them about any of the topics.
Have review sheets.
Who would win, Triple Monarch or Double Dragon?
Double Dragon in a heartbeat.
Dan, would you like to tell the story?
You
know which story I'm on about?
On a mid-Saturday afternoon, early spring, we were at a wonderful battleground in London, and two mummoks just walking across the field, you know, as they do, minding their own business. And suddenly a dragon descends from the sky, charging both mummoks. While the dragon's brother shoots a ball of fire at the dragon in combat with both mummoks, igniting both mummoks, killing both of them in one shot, and the dragon survives due to some fate points. So in one turn he killed both mummoks, all the crew died to falling damage, and we were tabled in one turn. Dragon is love, dragon is life. It's an easy phrase. So
It's
yeah,
okay to lose.
it was hilarious, but it was also, oh, that was quick, pub.
Well, I think you were in the elephant ones at the time.
Yeah, I was, yeah. Yeah, that happened.
Me and Adam would like to ask, what did we miss?
I talked about elephants.
Yeah.
Damian didn't talk about Tariel, surprisingly. And James talked about dragons.
There you go.
Yeah, you were here for James's recap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was don't be scared to take pet armies or pet models just because you enjoy them. Just take them, learn how to play with them, have fun doing it, and damn what other people say. Just enjoy your element of the hobby.
Or elephant of the hobby.
Or elephant of the hobby. Yeah.